thank you so much for giving me a chance. I hope you like what you see, and I hope it helps you to relax. If you like it, please subscribe. It's just down below. And those that are returning, thank you. And everybody, please keep the comments coming. I live on them. So, we're going to do our breathing. So how we do that, and we're training our brain so that whenever we do our breathing, it tells the rest of our body to relax. So we're going to take breath through our nose for a count of 4. We're going to hold it gently for a count of 4, and then a slow 4 out pursed lips. Okay, ready, go. Hold. Very good. Let's try another one. Hold. Out. Very good. Last one. Hold. And out. Very good. And I've just recently discovered this hand motion gives me tingles. So if it gives any of you, let me know, okay? So we're going to do some reading to help you sleep. And we're going to start with the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. And those of you that haven't been here before, I choose books that don't have illustrations so that you can just concentrate on hearing my voice and drifting off. And I don't pre-select the story. I have faith that I will open it, and whatever story I land on needs to reach someone tonight. Maybe it's you. So, shall we begin? Get comfy, guys. Let's try this one. Here we go. No, we've done that one. Touched. Nope, we've read that one too. We're getting through most of this book, you guys. A Legacy of Love. Okay. Always kiss your children goodnight, even if they're already asleep. H. Jackson Brown, Jr. As a young man, Al was a skilled artist, a potter. He had a wife and 2 fine sons. One night, his older son developed a severe stomachache. Thinking it was only some common intestinal disorder, neither Al nor his wife took the condition very seriously. But the malady was actually acute appendicitis, and the boy died that night. Knowing the death could have been prevented if he had only realized the seriousness of the situation, Al's emotional health deteriorated under the enormous burden of his guilt. To make matters worse, his wife left him a short time later, leaving him alone with his 6-year-old son. The hurt and pain of the 2 situations was more than Al could handle, and he turned to alcohol to help him cope. In time, he became an alcoholic. As the alcoholism progressed, Al began to lose everything he possessed. His home, his land, his art objects, everything. Eventually, Al died alone in a San Francisco motel room. When I heard of Al's death, I reacted with the same disdain the world shows for one who ends his life with nothing material to show for it. What a complete failure, I thought. What a totally wasted life. As time went by, I began to reevaluate my earlier harsh judgment. You see, I knew Al's adult son, Ernie. He is one of the kindest, most caring, most loving men I have ever known. I watched Ernie with his children, and I saw the free flow of love between them. I knew that kindness and caring had to come from somewhere. I hadn't heard Ernie talk much about his father. It's so hard to defend an alcoholic. One day, I worked up my courage to ask him. I'm really puzzled by something, I said. I know your father was basically the only one who raised you. What on earth did he do that made you such a special person? Ernie sat quietly, and he really reflected on the question for a few moments. And then he said, From my earliest memories as a child until I left home at 18, Al would come into my room every night, give me a kiss, and say, "I love you, son." Tears came to my eyes as I realized what a fool I had been to judge his father a failure. He had not left any material possessions behind, but he had been a kind and loving father, and he left behind one of the finest, most giving men that I have ever known, Bobby Gee, winning the image game. Okay, I was a little worried about that story, to be honest, when it started, but I truly believe it needs to reach somebody. And I remember a line when I gave my speech at our wedding. And yeah, I gave a speech. I waited 33 years. I was giving a speech. But my father had always felt bad that we didn't own a home. And there were some at their wedding who judged harshly that we didn't have a house that we owned. Big deal. So in my speech, I said, "And my parents, who built us a home, not with bricks and wood, but with love, caring, and support. The only home we ever needed." I believe that, guys. Okay, this one is called Ask, Ask, Ask. Oh, nope, we did this one. It was about the Girl Guides. Okay, guys, this is... follow your dream. Don't live down to expectations. Go out there and do something remarkable. Wendy Wasserton. I have a friend named Monty Roberts who owns a horse ranch in San Isidro. I don't know how to pronounce it, guys. He had let me use his house to put on fundraising events to raise money for youth at risk programs. The last time I was there, he introduced me by saying, "I want to tell you why I let Jack use my house. It all goes back to a story about a young man who was the son of an itinerant horse trainer who would go from stable to stable, racetrack to racetrack, farm to farm, and ranch to ranch, training horses. As a result, the boy's high school career was continually interrupted. When he was a senior, he was asked to write a paper about what he wanted to do when he grew up. That night he wrote a 7-page paper describing his goal of someday owning a horse ranch. He wrote about his dream in great detail and even drew a diagram of a 200-acre ranch showing the locations of each building, the stables, the track. Then he drew a detailed floor plan of a 4,000 square foot house that would sit on his 200-acre dream ranch. He put a great deal of his heart into that project, and the next day he handed it in. 2 days later, he received his paper back. On the front was a large red F with a note that said, "See me after class." The boy with the dream went to see the teacher after class, and he said, "Why did you give me an F?" The teacher said, "This is an unrealistic dream for a young boy like you. You have no money. You come from an itinerant family. You have no resources. Owning a horse ranch requires a lot of money. You have to buy land. You have to pay for the original breeding stock, and later you'll have to pay large stud fees. There's no way you'll ever do it." Then the teacher added, "If you rewrite this paper with a more realistic goal, I will reconsider your grade." The boy went home and thought about it long and hard. He asked his dad what he should do, and his dad said, "Look, son, you have to make up your own mind on this. However, I think it is a very important decision for you." Finally, after sitting with it for a week, the boy turned in the same paper, making not one change. He stated, "You can keep the F, and I'll keep my dream." Monty then turned to the assembled group and said, "I tell you that story because you are sitting in my 4,000 square foot house in the middle of my 200-acre ranch. I still have that school paper. It's framed over the fireplace. The best part of the story is that 2 summers ago, that same school teacher brought 30 kids to camp out on my ranch for a week. When the teacher was leaving, he said, 'Look, Monty, I can tell you this now. When I was your teacher, I was something of a dream stealer. During those years, I stole a lot of kids' dreams. Fortunately, you had enough gumption not to give up on yours. Don't let anyone steal your dreams. Follow your heart, no matter what. Jack Canfield. I really like that one. Hope you guys do too. Let's try a different book, shall we? Let's do Angels All Around. It's still by the Chicken Soup people. Let's see what we can find. Okay. Alright, let's find Help in a Time of Trouble. Believe in guardian angels. They believe in you and are forever by your side. Author unknown. They say when it rains, it pours, and I never believed it more than I did at that point. It had been a year of pain and struggles, and I'd just been hit with the biggest blow of all. I sat there cradling my warm cup of coffee, hoping it would warm the chill inside me. It started in July when a car ran into my car, and it ran it off the highway onto one of the concrete dividers. I nearly died. The impact forced my left eye from its socket and damaged the optic nerve. My face was crushed. I had a concussion and my neck was fractured. To top it off, the doctors couldn't get the bleeding to stop, so they said I wouldn't make it. If I did make it, they said, I would likely be blind, paralyzed, or both. I don't remember much about the accident, but I do remember the stranger in white who helped me at the scene. My right eye was blurry and damaged, so I never really did get a good look at him. But I could make out the figure of a body in a white or cream-colored outfit. He held my hand and he told me it would be okay. My head wasn't clear enough to understand them, but I knew I appreciated the comfort of having someone with me and holding my hand. When I asked the paramedics about the stranger, they said there was no one there when they arrived, but I felt sure of what I had heard and seen and felt, even if I was only half conscious. Of course, there were times where I wondered if it had just been my imagination, and maybe the paramedics had been right. I didn't realize then that it was my first encounter with an angel that had been sent to help me through my difficult time. 2 months later, my mother lost everything in a hurricane. Her home was completely destroyed and everything she owned was gone. When she tried to keep the doors closed to lessen the damage, the force of the winds injured her. The entire area around her had been destroyed, and there were no contractors available for months. It felt like more than we could take. 2 months after that disaster, my dad was diagnosed with lung cancer. The doctor said his lungs were totally covered in spots, and there was really nothing they could do for him. By this point, it was November, and I just wanted the year over, because I honestly didn't think I could survive another thing. Surely next year would be better. How could it not? On the morning of December 5th, I got a call that proved things could get worse. My 24-year-old sister had been killed by a drunk driver. The words still ring in my ears. Sitting at the dining room table, it seemed all hope was lost. The smell of my coffee was the only thing tying me to this world. My mind and heart seemed to be falling deeper and deeper into despair. As I stared off into the distance, one eye covered with a patch, and the other still adjusting to doing all the work, I saw a figure walk by my left side. She walked behind me and she laid a hand on my shoulder. She was wearing a white or cream-colored gown. I thought it might have been my grandmother, who always wore a cream-colored housecoat around the house. Then I heard a slightly familiar voice say, "It's going to be okay." I turned to look, not sure if I was still expecting my grandma or not, but nobody was there. But I could still feel the print of the hand on my shoulder, and I could hear the words softly spoken in my ears. I felt tears streaming down my face again, but this time it was with renewed hope and comfort. The chill was gone, and I could feel the warmth of everlasting love and care flooding into my soul. It wouldn't bring my sister back to me, of course, but it would help me to move on. After that, though the year had been hard and long, I knew I hadn't gone through it alone. God had sent an angel to give me strength and to remind me he was there. no matter how hard things get. He will give me strength to make it through. It showed me that I was never alone, especially in the hardest of times. Christine Brown. Not that one. Yeah. Guys, I believe these stories, and I believe they're sent to us to read them when we need them most. I hope it was you that it reached, and I'm sorry if you're going through hard times. I promise you they're not permanent. I don't know why we have to all go through hard times, but the good times are ahead, I promise you. And you're never alone. That's one thing we in the ASMR community know very well, don't we? We're never alone. I hope you can drift off to sleep knowing that. And remember that I love you. I value you. I honor you. And I am so very, very glad that you were born. My tomorrows are better because you're in them. The world is better because you're in